Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to start a new element, and that is element 4 on personal protective equipment. Now there are many videos that are available on PPE and its usage, PPE and what is PPE and this and that, how to use it. But here we are going to basically talk on what are the categorization and how it is defined. So basically personal protective equipment, that is PPE. When we say that personal protective equipment PPE is an important means of preventing work injuries. So how? So that is ideally the best approach is to maintain a safe work environment and eliminate any potential hazard. Correct? Now PPE should only be relied upon as a last line of defense in place where it is not practicable to control the hazard at source. Now, personal protective equipment, that is PPE, means all the equipments which are intended to be worn or held by people at work, at which protects them against one or more risk to their health and safety, and any addition or accessory designed to meet that objective. All PPE should be used as a last resort to reduce the risk. Taking into consideration the risk will not be eliminated. Now, the use of PPE generally implies to working in a potentially hazardous working environment, and its use is it is used as a major means of injury prevention. Therefore, it is the primary importance to ensure that the equipment chosen in both is both reliable and effective. It is being properly used and maintained, and the user has undergone adequate training. The aim is to make people aware that okay, this is the PPE, this is for your own protection. And how? See, what happens is that whenever we are telling that use these PPEs, you have to wear these PPEs, that we are not actually telling them the importance of these PPEs, why it is important, what can go wrong because of which this PPE is been selected. So whenever we talk of a toolbox talk, or when we talk of the use of PPEs, then we must tell them that what all are the work activities. This is the work activity because of which you have to use this PPE. As well as all know about PPE comes last in the control of hazards of hierarchy hazard, correct, hierarchy of hazards, but cannot be neglected. Moreover, when we are all trying to elevate standards of safety, PPE plays a just a provisional role addressing where hazards are unseen or cannot be qualified. Natural calamities, fire services, military operation welfare, disaster management, these are all, all these encounters are unpredictable and are foreseen situations of emergencies where the only thing which is probably the work is to engage or face the situation and the preparedness to meet any eventually, and this is possible only through PPE. So you have to understand that when you are not prepared, when you're not, when you don't know anything about, okay, what can go wrong, it is a disastrous situation, there the use of PPE is justified. But when it comes to our premises, if there is a practical and applicable solution available, we should first go for that. Now, this is all about the introduction of this element. Now let us start with what exactly this element is going to cover. So what we are going to cover in this element, I'll just brief you. So for the very first aspect is that categories of PPE. So we must understand that what are the categories of personal protective equipment. When it comes to introducing the personal protective equipment, so we must understand that personal protective equipments are divided this element is divided in three parts. First is the category of PPE, the care, maintenance and effective use of PPE, and safety in material handling. So these are the three categories where PPE, in depth can be explained. So first, today in this session, we are going to discuss about category of PPE. So let us start with categories of PPE. So let us understand. Very first element, categories of PPE. So depending on the nature of hazard, PPE is broadly divided into two categories, respiratory and non-respiratory. Why these two categories? I'll explain. Respiratory, those used for protection from harm due to inhalation of contaminated air, is called respiratory protection. Now non-respiratory means those used for protection against from outside bodies, that is for protecting head, eye, face, head, arm, foot, leg or other body parts. So these are the two major categories of PPEs. So why these PPEs are divided into two categories, respiratory and non-respiratory. So in categories of PPE also, today we are going to discuss the most important and most talked of PPE, and that is the respiratory PPEs. Now when we talk of respiratory PPEs, so respiratory PPEs are also classified into categories. So personal protective equipment, respiratory. So it has been observed that exposure to hazardous chemical in any industrial workplace cannot be completely eliminated by using various safe technologies and engineering control measures. The workers are therefore bound to face some amount of harmful exposures due to course of their work. It has to be kept in mind that there may also be a plant breakdown, or sometimes repairs and maintenance may have to be carried out in the contaminated environment. On such occasions, the level of air contamination may even exceed the permissible limit of exposures, and the working condition may essentially demand to provide respiratory protection devices to the workers. Such exposures are also possible in manual handling and transportation of chemicals. Respiratory protective equipment should be considered as a last resort or as standby protection and never a suitable or effective engineering control measure. It is therefore essential that the last line of defense should be most reliable and must not provide a false sense of security to the user. It is well known fact that the toxic effect of a chemical depends on the nature of degree of its hazard potential. As such, for different work situation, different type of respiratory protection devices are required and used. So the very first thing we need to understand is the classification of respiratory protection. Why we explain this, we are discussing this because you have to understand respiratory protection is a very important element. We must understand the nature, the potential of hazard in our premises, so that it should not be falsely related. Oh, wear this, you are safe. No, it should be well thought of, well organized, well executed PPE or the protection factor available. Because if you say that you can wear this and you can go in this area, that means the person is taking his life at risk and going in the area thinking that okay, I'm wearing a mask, I'll be protected with the gas effect, but it is not necessary. So if it is wrongly selected, then you will definitely have an exposure which may lead to a death of an individual also. That's why respiratory protection is given the most important factor when it comes to the protection. So so now I'll just brief you on the classification of hazard for respiratory protection. So the various types of hazards to which the worker is exposed in the industry are main points of consideration for selection of right type of respiratory protective equipment. These hazards are classified as: first, oxygen deficit work environment, gas or vapor contaminant, airborne particulate matter and mixture of gas, vapors and particulate matter. So these are the four categories in which respiratory protection is divided. Now, starting from oxygen deficit area. So what is oxygen deficit area? So oxygen deficit work environment is the presence of inert gases, nitrogen or carbon dioxide in high concentration produces oxygen deficit atmosphere. Like confined spaces also may have less amount of oxygen than other requirements for breathing purpose. Now breathing air with oxygen content of 16% or less may produce symptoms ranging from increased rate of breathing, acceleration of pulse rate, unconsciousness and to death as well. So the flame of the flame of a safety lamp which gets extinguished in such atmosphere can easily detect such oxygen deficit conditions. The respiratory protective equipment used in such conditions should either supply normal fresh air or oxygen to the wearer. So what you have to do in this particular area, if there is an oxygen deficit area, then you have to first ensure that you supply normal fresh air, or you have to provide him to wear oxygen. Correct. So the person going in this area, oxygen deficit area, should always have oxygen or normal air. So what is the percentage of oxygen? 16%. Correct. Now the second area is gaseous vapor contaminants. Now the highly toxic gases or vapors present in breathing the air can endanger the life of the person. If exposed even for a short period of time, high concentration of gas in the work environment is also immediately dangerous to life, whereas it is not possible to determine the extent of concentration of the kind of gases it is known. Correct. All gases should be considered as immediately dangerous to life. As such, supply of fresh air or self-contained breathing apparatus SCBA should be used. So the toxic gas or vapors, when they build up a concentration in a work environment exceeding the permissible limit of exposure and it is breathed by the worker repeatedly, may cause possible health injury after prolonged exposure. The exposure concentration of the contaminant should therefore be known to decide when and which type of respiratory device is required to be used. Now, to simplify it, gaseous vapor contaminant. Highly toxic gases are present. See, whenever there is an area existing where the oxygen content is not adequate, first, or wherever there is a presence of gases which are harmful for human body, when we see the MSDS, every gas, every chemical is hazardous for our lungs or our breathing function. So whenever we are going in any area which has higher concentration of toxic gases, will lead to what? Will lead to damage to our lungs. So in this condition, what we need to do, we need to corely focus on provisions to be very much selective so that a proper protective device or the right respiratory protection device is required to be selected. So first you must know what type of contaminants can be present in the premises. How you can decide that? Based on whatever chemicals are available within the premises, you should first know which chemical is getting vaporized and what is the total amount of concentration or permissible level of exposure for each individual chemicals. So you must understand each individual chemical vaporization should be known. So if it is having 10, the area is having 10 chemicals, but 8 chemicals or 9 chemicals are not harmful, but one is harmful, because if its vapor is being inhaled, then you might have a problem. So what you need to do is you need to select the respiratory protection in such a way that it protects you from the exposure of that one particular chemical. More or less, if you have to work in such environment, There are the self-contained breathing apparatus is also should be used. So this is what the gaseous vapor contaminant element is all about. Now coming to the third part, and that is airborne particulate matter. Now airborne particulate matter are basically three types. That is nauseous dust, toxic particulate matter, and fibrogenic dust. So what is nauseous dust? A particulate matter which remains in the lungs without producing local or systemic poisoning effect, or may dissolve and pass directly into the bloodstream without causing any harmful effect are called nauseous dust. Example of such dust are cement, lime and sawdust. Now these are nauseous dust, for what does it does? It is not going to harm your body, but when you're present in such dust, then you're not comfortable. The comfortable is not there, but yes, it is not again this doesn't mean that it is safe for you. No, it is not safe. So some level of protection is required. If the concentration of these dust also increases, it will definitely harm you. So the protection level is required. But this is one categorization which is like not poisonous. So it does not have a poisoning effect. It will dissolve and pass through your bloodstream. That's not a problem. But to a certain level or a certain content, correct? So this is nauseous dust. The second point is toxic particulate matter. Now airborne particulate matter which when inhaled may get trapped in lung and subsequently may pass to the bloodstream and enter into various parts of the body. The effect may be chemical irritation, systematic poisonings, allergic reactions and cancer. So common contaminants of this group are antimony, arsenic, cadmium, lead, magnesium, chromium, chromate, dichromate. These are all different types of toxic particulate matter. Anything and everything other which can cause irritation, allergic reactions, all these are toxic particulate matters. Now here the protection level has requirements. So these are airborne particulate matters. You have to understand anything which is dust, fume, smoke, mist or fog, everything is toxic. So when we are defining toxic, so there we have to identify that what is the level of exposure of different chemicals. So that this information you get from MSDS. Whenever any chemical is toxic, it is written up to what certain limit, what is the amount of fumes present in the area, based on which what will be the total exposure, based on which we decide that whether this particular matter requires protection, what type of protection, what type of selection is required, correct? Now the third part is fibrogenic dust. Now the particulate matter which has potential to produce fibrosis of the lung tissue is called fibrogenic dust. Now example are asbestos, cotton, silica powder. So everybody is aware that asbestos nowadays are banned. So it is fibrogenic dust. Now what happens when we inhale such dust? What happens is it goes inside your lung. It starts forming fibrosis. So it will, the fibers will settle on your lung surface. Now lungs are very soft tissues. So when these fibrogenous material gets, accumulated or collected on the lungs, it starts solidifying the lung. So when it solidifies, it's like it's acting as a plaster to your lungs. So it will slowly and gradually solidify. So your lung function of the soft tissue reduces, which results into very big time problem. So you have asthma, you have all breathing difficulties. So this is very bad, and understand this is an irreversible condition. No, it cannot be replaced, correct? So this is the most dangerous part of airborne particulate matters. That's why I have covered this. Now the fourth point is mixture of gases, vapors and vapors and particulate matters. So the fourth element was mixture of gases, vapors and particulate matter. So the mixture of different type of airborne contaminant like oxides or nitrogen produced by electric arc welding, operation and metal fume generated, as well as the presence of other gases in workplace environment, draw specific attention to taking decision in selecting the right type of respiratory protective devices. In such situations, more efforts are required to be made to improve the work environment. So priority is required to be given to eliminate some of the contaminants in the most possible and practicable manner, and then subsequently to select the right type of respirator. So when it comes to when we are talking of mixed or gas vapors, particulate matter, so all these things are important. Why it is important? Because selection is important. Now coming to when we talk of types of respiratory protective equipments. So when we talk of types of respiratory protective equipments, so you have to understand, like, I want to give justice to this particular element. So we'll be taking it in two parts. So we are going to have another session specifically related to type of respiratory protective equipments and what all we cover under this. So I hope if you have liked the video till now, please hit the like button. Keep liking, sharing, and subscribe. Do subscribe to us, and do not forget to hit the bell icon to for our motivation, so that you can get the notification of whatever videos we post. And thank you very much, friends. We'll be back soon.